shortly, right after we find out how much carbon is in a forest.
Hi, I'm Tom.
And I'm Darren.
And we're with the Department of Sustainability and Environment, and this is a mountain ash tree.
Now, this tree is 75 metres tall and 6.5 metres around its base.
And according to our calculations, it could contain as much as 70 tonnes of carbon. So why do trees contain so much carbon, and who cares how much they store? We'll come for a walk and we'll explain. Plants, like all living things, contain carbon, but while animals and fungi absorb carbon through their food, plants take it in from the air. They absorb carbon dioxide through their leaves and they convert it, via photosynthesis and other chemical reactions, into energy-storing and structural molecules. They use these to maintain their bodies and grow.
Of course, carbon atoms that are incorporated into a tree will remain there until it decomposes or it burns. And because trees are so good at removing carbon from our atmosphere and keeping it locked away, they are critical in the fight against climate change. The more old trees we protect and the more new ones we plant, the less carbon dioxide there'll be in our atmosphere and the slower our planet will warm.
So how much carbon does a tree store? Well, that depends on how much it weighs. In the average tree, carbon makes up almost half of the total weight. And since a tree's weight can be calculated from its circumference and height, we can measure these and estimate how much carbon it contains. In this case, around 60 tonnes. But even more important than knowing how much carbon individual trees store is knowing how much carbon a whole forest stores. Working this out involves first aerially surveying the forest in question, so its extent can be accurately estimated. Then we visit a few key sites in the forest and do some measuring while there. We record the height and circumference of a number of trees and use software to calculate, from the data we've collected, how much carbon the forest is likely to be holding.
But not all forests are equal when it comes to storing carbon.
Different types of forests and other types of ecosystems can store very different amounts.
Mountain ash forests can store up to 400 tonnes of carbon per hectare, while the scrubbier, shorter types of forest, which are far more widespread, store around 100 tonnes of carbon per hectare. As you can imagine, there are really good reasons for working this stuff out. Knowing how much carbon different ecosystems can store lets scientists work out what types of vegetation should be planted in certain areas. This helps ensure the most amount of carbon can be absorbed, and other environmental benefits like healthy soil and water will result too.
So now you know how carbon is taken up and stored by trees.
And why ecosystems like this are so vital for keeping large amounts of it safely locked away.